We've been talking about this for several weeks now, and becoming a water walker. And what does that really mean? It means that we are going to go where God asks us to go. Taking that step of faith, trusting that He is going to be the one to sustain us and to hold us up. And last week we talked about Samuel and how he answered God's voice. Here I am, your servant listens. Today we're going to look a little bit closer at Eli. And what it is that Eli did right and wrong. In what ways was Eli a water walker or not a water walker? We hear a lot of stories of dads, especially if we watch the news at all, of being absent from the homes. And a lot of times dads are the ones being accused for the kids going off astray. And I think there's probably quite a bit of reality in those statements. It's easy to see dads portrayed negatively. I just heard within the last couple days of a father that is now sitting in jail because of sexually molesting his own children. We hear a lot about bad dads. But this week, as we were home on Monday, and I was just sitting there drinking my coffee, watching TV for a couple minutes Monday morning. Good Morning America was doing a spot, and I don't know if they did it all week. I only watched Monday. But honoring dads and good things that dads had done. And from what I could gather, people had submitted stories of their dad and what he had done. And then from those stories, they selected a few and showed the story. Well, this morning, I want us to watch the story that I saw Monday morning. And it was one that really kind of got my attention. Of how a dad was being a good father and going out of his way to take care of the needs of the family. Let's watch this together.
A very deserving dad about to get the surprise of his life. So Amy, take it away.
All right. Well, we are so excited for the big kickoff to our Thank You Dad series this week. One very deserving Georgia dad is about to get an unforgettable early Father's Day gift. We showed you David Holt's daughter surprising him at his home early this morning. They blindfolded him and put some headphones on, taking him to that secret location. And now Jesse is waiting for him with a big reveal. Jesse.
Thank you so much, Amy. I'm sitting here right now with Megan and Brittany. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
All right. Well, the moment we've been eagerly waiting all morning is finally here. Can I get a drum roll, please? All right. Will you guys do the honor? Bring your dad up. Take off that blindfold.
Take everything off. Take everything off. Take everything off. Take everything off. Come on. Come on. Come on, Dad. Now let's go. I've got your glasses.
Here he is. He's coming out.
Here, put them on. We got a...
How are you doing, sir? It's the first time you've seen anything with his blindfold on. My name's Jesse Palmer. Welcome. Let's all go for a walk together, guys. First things first. Now you got the blindfold on. Do you know where you are? Turner Field. Turner Field, home of the Atlanta Braves. And not just that, David. You're also right now on live national television on Good Morning America. Wave to America right there. We got a big surprise for you. Here we go. Your friends, your family, your coworkers. They all came here just to celebrate you. So I guess the million-dollar question I want to ask you, do you know why you're here?
No.
You have no idea?
No.
Okay, well, we know Father's Day is right around the corner.
Right.
And to celebrate this great day, your two daughters shared with us your unbelievably heartwarming story. Dave, I have to tell you, it moved us so much. So before I can even continue it this morning, I want to show you and I want to show all our viewers at home just why we're all here celebrating with you today. I want you to take a look right up here at the Jumbotron.
From the very beginning, Brittany and Megan Holt were Daddy's little girls.
The sky was the limit when we were growing up.
But last year, the Holt family faced a crisis. Brittany, at the age of 25, was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer and underwent 6 months of chemotherapy. At the same time, both sisters tested positive for the BRCA1 gene and had double mastectomies to prevent more cancer.
My percentage of getting breast cancer was 87% and higher.
Their mother, Donna, quit her job and moved to Richmond, Virginia to care for Brittany.
This was something that he knew we all needed to be a part of.
But David insisted that the whole family be present for Brittany's weekly treatment.
He was in Atlanta, Megan was in Tennessee.
He would drive to get Megan in Tennessee and then on to Richmond, almost 700 miles each way, 11 hours in the car.
And then he would turn right back around on Sunday and leave.
David's strength for his family was inspiring to his friends and neighbors alike.
David was just like, we got to do what we got to do.
His support was nonstop, texting, FaceTime, and a trip to the barber.
He kept his shaved until she started getting her hair back.
He went bald, and he also went pink.
A t-shirt that we wore to every chemo, every surgery, every doctor's appointment. It said, kicking cancer to the curb. He's a very manly man. He's like a guy's guy, and he would never, dream to wear pink. I want him to know how much I appreciate just him being there. He has instilled in both of us that we can take on the world. Nothing is impossible.
Wow. It's such an emotional story. It's so inspirational. When you think about the journey this family's been on, when you think about your daughters, when you watch that video, what sort of emotions come to mind?
Well, they're just very strong, very positive girls. They've been a great positive influence on all of us. They stayed strong. She's a rock star. What she's gone through, special.
Megan, I want to ask you, you were the one that actually submitted to us at GMA the story about your dad. So in front of America, what would you like them to know about your father?
That he's been an amazing role model for us, and we're thankful for the foundation he has given us to grow our family.
And Brittany, finally, what does it mean for you to be here celebrating with your dad and showing your love for him?
This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I'm so lucky that we get to share with you, and we all love you.
We do.
It's such a touching story, guys. I know it's been a crazy morning for you so far. This has been a little bit wild. It's about to get just a little bit crazier. We got another big surprise for you. I want you to take one more peek up here at the Jumbotron again.
David Holt, thank you for being a lifelong Braves fan. As a token of our appreciation, we'd like to invite you to a game and batting practice in Atlanta. Once again, happy Father's Day, and thank you for being a fan.
On the field before that for batting practice. Sounds like a pretty good day so far.
Great day.
But we've actually got one more surprise. This is something that even your wife and your daughters don't even know about. After hearing your story, we couldn't help at GMA but to think this family really needs a vacation.
Oh, boy.
So you guys are going to have to start to get packing because Beaches Resort is going to send you and your family on a 4-day luxury included vacation to Beaches, Turks and Caicos, Resort Villages and Spa. You guys are going to be staying in a 3-bedroom ocean view Butler Villa. You've got water sports, 21 restaurants that are gourmet on campus, so make sure you bring your appetite, guys. All your airfares also included. Does that sound okay?
That sounds great.
You think we're doing that?
I just wanted to share that this morning because it's a good story. And so often we see so much negative stories about dads. What happens when a father either chooses to be a water walker or not? We talked a couple of weeks ago about Hannah and when she chose to do that and take that step of faith and go where God is leading her, and how that affected generations to come. Statistics prove that when a father does, it has an even greater effect on generations to come than it does when a mother does. But today, when we look at our scripture, We see what happens to a family when a father doesn't step up. If you'd stand with me as we read God's Word this morning, 1 Samuel chapter 3, starting at verse 10. The Lord came and stood, calling as at the other time, Samuel, Samuel. Then Samuel said, Speak, for your servant is listening. And the Lord said to Samuel, See, I am about to do something in Israel that will make the ears of everyone who hears of it tingle. At that time, I will carry out against Eli everything I spoke against his family from the beginning to the end. For I told him that I would judge his family forever because of the sin he knew about. His sons made themselves contemptible, and he failed to restrain them. Therefore I swore to the house of Eli, the guilt of Eli's house will never be atoned for by sacrifice or offering. Samuel lay down again until morning, and then opened the doors of the house of the Lord. He was afraid to tell Eli the vision. But Eli called him and said, Samuel, my son. Samuel answered, Here I am. What was it he said to you? Eli asked. Do not hide it from me. May God deal with you, be it ever so severely, if you hide it from me, anything that he told you. So Samuel told him everything, hiding nothing from him. Then Eli said, He is the Lord. Let him do what is good in his eyes. The Lord was with Samuel, and he grew up, and let none of his words fall to the ground. And all Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, recognized that Samuel was attested as a prophet of the Lord. The Lord continued to appear at Shiloh, and there he revealed himself to Samuel through his word. Lord, this is your word, given to us so that we might speak, we might hear and see. And Lord, today, as we are looking into this, I pray that you would help us to see what it has for us. Lord, here I am, your servant. Speak through me today. Use me however you want. Lord, we love you. You may be seated. The title of this message today is The Making of a Man of God. Eli had been appointed as a priest, and in that appointment was supposed to be a man of God, and yet through Scripture we see that he had failed at that. And that God would raise up another. Samuel, he's this young boy. We don't really know how old he is at this point in Scripture. We don't need to know. All we know is that he's a young boy. And he had not heard the Lord speak to him yet. He knew about the Lord, but he didn't know the Lord yet. He was growing up. He was growing in this life of servanthood, serving in the temple. And Eli was old. He couldn't quite see. But yet Eli was pouring into this boy all he could. As Samuel heard the Lord call him, he answered to him, and the Lord started to tell him all of the things that was going to happen. He told him what was going to happen to Eli and Samuel. But from that day on, verse 19 says, the Lord was with Samuel as he grew up, and he let none of his words fall to the ground. You see, in Samuel saying, here I am, he was taking that step of faith. He was becoming a water walker. He was going out where God wanted him to go. And at the end of that portion of Scripture, we see that the Lord was with him and let none of his words fall to the ground. Where are you at in your walk with the Lord? Are you taking that step of faith and you are totally walking out where He's leading you? I imagine, as I know for my own self, as I take that step after step, there's a lot of times I'm scared to death of the things that the Lord's asking me to do. But I know that I can trust the one who's calling me. I know that I can lean on Him and that He will carry me. And I want this promise that I see in this portion of Scripture that there was no break in the relationship between God and Samuel. I want there not to be any kind of a break in the relationship between God and me. The only way there would be that break is if I tell God, no, I'm not going to do what you're asking me to do. I'm not going to go where you want me to go. I feel a whole lot safer standing on this solid ground than I do walking on that water. And at that point, I have made a break in that relationship with God. I've gone back and started serving myself instead of Him. But I want to be able to be like Samuel. Growing in my relationship with the Lord. Samuel grew to become a great prophet. Why? Because he dared to be a water walker. He dared to trust God at an early age and do what it was God was asking him to do. But what happened with Eli? What happened in Eli's life? And did Eli actually commit sin? Well, the answer to that is yes and no. He didn't do anything wrong in his own duties, except for the fact that he knew what his sons were doing. And he didn't do enough to stop them. In chapter 2 of 1 Samuel, we see verse 17, it says, the sin of the young man was very great in the Lord's sight, for they were treating the Lord's offerings with contempt. What was it they were doing? They'd gotten to a point that they cared so much more about themselves than serving the Lord That they wouldn't wait for the fat and everything to be boiled together. They would just send out their servants and say, I want that cut of meat. I want this for me. I want. They placed themselves in the position of God. When all of this is supposed to be offered up to God, they wanted it. And Eli knew that this was going on. This is where Eli failed to be a water walker. Walking on water means that we have to do the hard things. We have to step out in faith, even if it means speaking to someone that is doing wrong. Eli's sons had no respect for the ways of the Lord. Eli did rebuke them. He did. In chapter 2, verses 22 and following, it says, Now Eli, who was very old, heard about everything his sons were doing to all Israel, and how they slept with the women who served at the entrance of the tent of meeting. So he said to them, Why do you do such things? I hear from all the people about those wicked deeds of yours. No, my sons, it is not good report that I hear, spreading among the Lord's people. If a man sins against another man, God may mediate for him. But if a man sins against the Lord, who will intercede for him? His sons, however, did not listen to their father's rebuke. For it was the Lord's will to put them to death. Eli tried. But there's so much more that Eli could have done. If he wanted to truly follow God, he knows that God's saying, this is not right. One, you're not supposed to be sleeping with the women that are taking care of the tent. Two, you're not supposed to be taking all the stuff that comes to be sacrificed to God. All these guys are doing is looking out for self. Sin. Selfish ambition. Serving themselves. Eli could have taken them out of their positions. But he didn't. He just let it go. In a sense, Eli really failed in this area. He didn't do what he could have to stop the disrespect, the disservice that was going on to God's people and God alike. But he kept his mouth quiet. But Eli did very well in another area. Talking about being a father, and being a father doesn't mean that you are the one that fathered that child. Eli was in the role of father with Samuel. And he was teaching Samuel. And I kind of wonder, Scripture doesn't say, and we don't know, but I kind of wonder if Eli said to Samuel at any point in time, Samuel, see my sons? See how they're disrespecting? Don't be like them. That's not really truly serving God. I don't know if Eli said that to Samuel or not, but you know what? There's been times in my life as a father I've said to one of my or both of my children, see how that one has gone astray? Don't do that. Sometimes I think being a good father is helping helping those that we are working with to see the way not to go as much as the way to go. Because sometimes that path that starts to lead us off astray, it starts so gradual that we don't even realize we're turning down that path. I think that Eli failed drastically with his sons. But that he did an excellent job with Samuel, teaching Samuel to answer the Lord, speak, for your servant is listening. Then we look back at Samuel. And being a very young age, I think he had to do something that would be hard for any of us at any age. Stepping out in faith. Even when what we know we have to share isn't going to be popular. Samuel, Scripture tells us that after the Lord spoke to him, he laid back down, and then he got up in the morning and he went about his business, opening up the temple and dreading his meeting with Eli. But then Eli called to him. Come here, son. What did God have to say to you? And then we see Eli being a very good father again. Telling Samuel, tell me the truth. If you don't, there's going to be more punishment from the Lord. But we see Samuel taking this next step of faith. At being a real water walker. Taking that step of faith and telling Eli what is about to happen. I think it's a hard job. I think it'd be hard for a young boy. But I think it's hard for any of us if we know that we've got something that's kind of not good and we have to share it. And going out and sharing it. Eli said, do not hide it from me. May God deal with you, be it ever so severely, if you hide from me anything he told you. Samuel didn't want to hurt Eli. He was his mentor. He was the one that was training him. And yet, God specifically told him that he was going to do to Eli's house everything that was prophesied. God told Eli this was coming. And then he confirmed it through Samuel. It's not good news. Would any of us want to ever receive news that our entire family was going to be wiped out or to the point of never being able to be forgiven? I don't want to be that kind of a dad that just kind of lets my kids go do whatever they want because it's easier. I want to be the kind of father that even in the hard times, even when it's going to cause problems, I want to follow God no matter what. in my own family, as well as at church. Willing to preach the word. Even if there's some sitting there that might not like hearing what it is I'm sharing. I answer to God. And I'm going to be that kind of father. I'm going to be that kind of leader that walks the path that He puts in. I believe that fathers are very important. And that story that we just saw of the father, the good father. Willing to make the sacrifices to help his family through his hardship, a time of struggle. But I have the utmost respect for a dad that I see being a good dad to a kid that's not really his kid. Because that's the kind of love that I know we get from our Heavenly Father. We're all adopted into His family. As fathers, we need to be water walkers. But not just fathers, all of us need to be. No matter what the situation is we're in, we need to say yes to God and be willing to take and step out in faith to follow God's will for us and our family. Sometimes the things that God tells us we need to do are not. And it's definitely not someplace we would want to go or do. But to be a water walker, we must follow God's lead. Are you willing? Are you willing to say yes and take that step of faith and start walking the water? Let's stand as we close. Lord, today we've seen some really, really good stories shared. Lord, I know that for me, as a dad, I want to be the best that I can be. But Lord, I know that so often I fail. And I let my family down. Lord, I say, follow you. I know that you never fail. And you never let us down. And Lord, you provided for us the perfect role model. Lord, I pray that you would just help us this week as we follow you, as we step out in faith to be water walkers, Lord, that you would guide us and that we would follow, that we would be about the business you want us to be about. That we wouldn't be like Eli's sons and be all about me, the me monster. It's all about me. Lord, I pray that you would just help us Because I know we can't do it on our own. Lord, that we would follow you no matter what. Lord, we love you.